Well, my next guest gave one of the most inspiring speeches of all time, and it's called Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout. It has been viewed over 300 million times online. Please welcome best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, and football coach, Dr. Rigsby. Rick, welcome.
Thank you very much, Governor. What a privilege to be with you.
Oh, the privilege is ours.
Thank you.
I saw someone send a link to me some time ago of the speech, Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout. I can see why 300 million people have viewed this. That's in itself unbelievable. Did you ever think that it would strike a nerve with people like it did?
Not in a million years. First of all, what a privilege to be with you, Governor. I grew up with God-fearing parents who practiced the Bible and insisted on common sense as a mandate, something that we're missing in this day and age. So when I was growing up, I took for granted these simple lessons. But today, in this present culture that we live in, where common sense is not demanded, where exercising basic behaviors and standing up for values are no longer on the scene, simple lessons from this third grade dropout resonated. And I had no idea whatsoever. Simple lessons like, son, you'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. How you do anything is how you do everything. It's never wrong to do the right thing. Don't judge people. I mean, they come right out of the Bible, Governor. And I think the 300 million is the result of people that are hurting, that are broken, and also people that are wanting to improve their lot in life.
You know, Rick, I think it's very evident that some people are very educated, and then there are other people who may not be very educated, but they're very smart.
That's right.
And I would say what you got in your life was not necessarily the result of education, because third grade, but you had some smart parents.
Oh, my goodness. You're right, Governor. My father left school in the third grade to help out on the family farm. But just because he left school doesn't mean his education stopped. Mark Twain once said, I've never allowed my schooling to get in the way of my education. you know what's interesting?
That's a great line.
I have 4 degrees. My brother is a presidential appointed judge in Washington, D.C., retired colonel, United States Army. We weren't the smartest ones in our family. It's a country mother from Oklahoma, quoting Henry Ford. She would say to us every day, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. A third grade dropout daddy, quoting Michelangelo. I can hear him now. Ricky, I'm not gonna have a problem if you aim high and miss, but I'm gonna have a real issue if you aim low and hit. You see, my father had to pull himself up. He taught himself how to read. He taught himself how to write. One of the earliest lessons, Governor, was this. Ricky, don't expect other people to do for you what you ought to do for yourself. You see, that doesn't play very well in a shallow, superficial society where we'd rather look good than be good.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen in our neighborhood.
You know, I see so many kids today, and they feel like they're victims.
Sure.
It's somebody else's fault that they're not getting all the advancements and successes. My gosh, that has not been how you've looked at life.
Not at all. We were taught not to. We were always taught to do our best, to see the good in everyone. You know, my father grew up in a segregated America, during a time when America was not kind to its people of color. My father decided, against that backdrop, that he was going to stand and be a man, Governor. Not a black man, not a white man, not a brown man, a man. He decided that he was going to respect other people regardless of whether they respected him or not. And so my brother and I, we're empowered by this. Nothing can hold us back. No weapon formed against us can prosper.
I just wish that was a message that was permeating into households across this country.
I'm trying, brother.
Well, you're doing a good job. Maybe you're doing a better job than anybody if 300 million people have seen it. But I wish 300 million plus Americans would adhere to that.
Yeah.
I do recognize we're living in some very challenging times, and there are horrible things that have happened to people. Sometimes horrible things have happened to people of color.
Yeah.
I'm not oblivious to that.
Sure.
So how do we blend between what you've just said and the way you were raised, not to be a victim, and the fact that some people have been mistreated, they have been disrespected. And so when someone says Black Lives Matter, I mean, that's true. And I'm not talking about the organization because I think it's a Marxist bunch of loons, but the statement itself. So how do we deal with that and at the same time take your message to heart?
Yes, sir. Reinstituting self-resilience, reinstituting a sense of I can do this. I can do all things. You know, I happen to be African American. There's no doubt about it. And there is horrific racial strife going on. But I think just as critical is a breakdown of the family. Let me tell you a quick story. I used to be the character coach at Texas A&M with Coach Slocum. And one of the things we realized, one of the things Coach realized, was we're trying to coach these young men up to be men. It dawned upon us, how can you be something you've not seen?
Wow.
So we're focusing not on one of the major issues in America, a breakdown of the family. If I got in trouble, I'm 64. You just turned 65, I believe. Happy
Thanks
birthday.
for telling everybody that.
Well,
wow.
at least you don't look 78 like you said last week.
That's true, I don't. Thank goodness I don't.
In our day, if I got in trouble at your house, your mother would spank me, call my mother, and I'd get another spanking when I got home.
100%.
It's a whole different day. You see, back in my neighborhood, I had about 12 sets of parents, 24 sets of eyeballs, right? There was accountability. There was a way that you ought behave. There was an expected behavior. And I'm not denouncing single parents. Thank God for single parents. But there is something about that child that grows up in a family where you see a male figure, a godly man, a godly woman, reinforcing godly behavior. And I think that is really missing in brown families, in white families, and in black families. I am working that one day we might turn back to the Lord and do things His way. We've tried it the right way. We've tried it the left way. How about God's way?
I think this audience agrees with you. I certainly do. I mean, what you're saying is something very powerful, but simple.
Yes.
Dads matter.
Oh, they do. Absolutely, Governor. I can remember my mother said for 30 years, my father would get up an hour before he was supposed to get up. He was a simple cook, and he had to be at work at 5 in the morning. He had the breakfast shift, and he would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and be at work at 4. He would say our entire lives, Ricky, you'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. Translation, inconvenience yourself for the sake of other people. That's lost in a shallow, superficial.
Say that again.
Ricky, you'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. The translation, inconvenience yourself for the sake of others.
Never hear that.
It's not about you.
Never hear that.
It's not about you.
No.
It's reinforced. And so the real point that my father was really driving across to my brother and I every day, it's not about you. It's what can I do to help somebody else? How can I make our neighborhood better? How can I make our church better? How can we make our community better? What can we do to move beyond the parameters of me, myself, and I? And so I think we need to return. I like to tell people in speeches, we need to go and take a page out of grandma's playbook. You know, grandma and grandpa, I love being around grandparents. They could care less. I'm talking about the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They could care less what they drove. Their value wasn't in the car. I live in Dallas. I have friends who drive Land Rovers. They don't even have any land. See, the point that I'm trying to make is this. We focus on things that distract us that don't amount to a hill of beans. Why not focus on growing godly character, the kind of character that makes an impact every single day?
Can I get an amen out here? That's so true. Help me understand, there are other fathers who try to teach their sons what your dad taught you. And it would have been easy for you to say, my dad didn't amount to much. He's a cook, he didn't have a big education. But you listened, you learned, you absorbed. What made your receiving of his lessons different than other kids have?
Living and going through hell and high water. I think everything started coming together when my first wife got sick, mother of my 2 little boys, my college sweetheart, she dies of breast cancer. And so listen to this. I'm at the casket. It doesn't get much worse than looking at your wife's body in a casket with 2 little boys crying. So keep in mind, the answer to your question is going through difficulty. Because, he was then just dad prior to that. You don't make sense. You're old-fashioned. You have more hair growing out of your ears than you do on top of your head. but going through a difficult time. At the casket, I said, Dad, I've lost hope. Listen to this, Governor. He said, son, you can't lose something God gave you. You haven't lost hope, you've lost perspective. And then he said this, son, just stand. And there came a time in life, for me, it was during that period in my life, where I realized this man is a quiet tower of godly wisdom. You see, up until that point, he was a disciplinarian. Let me just put it to you. Can we be family?
Sure.
He wasn't interested in being my buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, don't get me started.
Yeah.
He was my father, and his job wasn't to raise black boys. His job was to mentor godly men who would impact the world.
Absolutely.
We got a problem in our society where we want to be our kids' friends, their best friends.
I think we had the same father.
Yeah.
I tell people.
That was you upstairs.
Yeah. You know, I tell people, my father was so patriotic.
Yeah.
That, you know, he would discipline me where he would lay on the stripes and I would see stars. I mean, that was the patriotism I grew up with. Sounds like you did too, Rick.
Oh, believe me, brother. And it didn't ruin me.
Yeah.
And it's biblical.
It is biblical.
Yes, sir.
The book is Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout. Yeah. What a powerful message. And also, Rick's got this book, Afraid to Hope. I think we know where that one's going, having heard his wonderful testimony. Yeah. Rick, please come back.
Oh, I'd be honored.
What a great message. I wish every young man, every father in America will hear your message, because you've got one to deliver to this country.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Governor.
Wow.
God bless you.
Rick Rigsby, please. Now, if you want more videos like that one, hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell right next to it. And if you leave a comment, positive or negative, I'll be sure that my dog Toby sees it and responds to you in kind.